Picture this. It's the fall of 1998. You're Zinedine Zidane, freshly crowned world champion, walking into the Stadio delle Alpi for a routine league match. The flares already burning in the curva. You look down at the pitch and you see Paolo Maldini stretching. Behind him, Franco Baresi shouts instructions. You look down the tunnel, there's Del Piero, jawline chiseled from marble, ready for war and prepared to do magic, shoulder to shoulder with you. By today's standards, you would say that this was a Champions League final. No, this was nothing more than a regular Saturday night in Serie A. And here's the thing, those who didn't have the luck to witness it can never know, or at least not from a first-person perspective. Back then, winning the Champions League was the easier part. The real battle, it happened every weekend in Italy. Sette Sorelle. Does that tell you something? In English, it's pronounced like the Seven Sisters. And the period between the late 1980s and early 2000s, it was a time when Italian football didn't just dominate Europe, it was Europe. Legendary players, legendary stadiums, even legendary kit sponsors. AC Milan, Juventus, Inter Milan, Roma, Lazio, Fiorentina and Parma. The Seven Sisters, that iconic thought came from Gianni Brera, a legendary sports journalist who worked for Gazzetta dello Sport and went down in history as one of the greatest to have covered the Italian league. So, without further ado, this is the story of when Serie A was the centre of the football universe and why we'll probably never see anything like it again. Now, before we go to the real story, however, a quick quiz for you involving 3 interesting questions, checking your ball knowledge from that period. Question number 1. How many European finals did Italian sides win from that period? There are 30 possible finals, 3 competitions, European Cup, and then Champions League obviously, UEFA Cup and Cup Winners' Cup. How many of those 30 finals were won by Italian clubs? Question number 2. In which year during the 1990s did Italian clubs win all 3 European trophies? And question 3. How many goals did AC Milan concede leading to their 1993-94 Serie A triumph? Pause the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and we'll reveal the answers towards the end. Now, what is the thing that's revolved and will always go hand in hand with football and its development? It's money, right? Obscene, reckless, beautiful, but also extremely harmful for current football. Money. Well, the 1990s in Italy were the wild west of football finance. There was no financial fair play in Serie A or among any of the European giants. There was no luxury tax. There were just billionaire owners with egos up to the roof and a burning desire to turn their clubs into European powerhouses. The first example is, of course, Silvio Berlusconi at Milan, arguably the most powerful leader in football for the last 4 decades. Then there was Massimo Moratti at Inter, the Agnelli family at Juventus, Sergio Cragnotti at Lazio, and of course the Parmalat magnate Callisto Tanzi, who bankrolled Parma from Serie B to continental glory and casually fielded 2 Ballon d'Or winners. All of these powerful individuals had the perfect formula for football success. First, they were fanatics to say the least, and that was their driving force. Add to that their unlimited ambition and almost limitless resources, and the path to footballing success was more achievable than ever. Indeed, between 1990 and 1999, Italian clubs broke the world transfer record 6 times. It all started with Roberto Baggio in 1990 when he left Fiorentina to join Juventus. This cost the Bianconeri €12.9 million. Next came Jean-Pierre Papin, who moved from Marseille to AC Milan in 1992 for €13 million. A couple of weeks later, Gianluca Vialli moved from Sampdoria to Juventus for €20 million. The record remained unbroken for the next 5 years until 1997, when Ronaldo moved from Barcelona to Inter for €26.5 million. And the 5th and 6th record belonged to one person, the legendary Christian Bobo Vieri. First he left Atletico Madrid to join Lazio for €28 million in 1998, but a summer later, after a single season in the capital, Vieri chose to wear the black and blue of Inter Milan when the Nerazzurri paid €46 million. But here's what made it possible: television. The advent of pay TV in Italy caused a financial tsunami. The money involved was staggering. It meant that a club from Parma, a town with a population of around 170,000, could outbid Manchester United for a household name like Lilian Thuram, a legendary fullback and World Cup starter. You know him. Another example, the money generated from TV rights meant that Fiorentina could keep Batistuta when Barcelona came calling in the late 90s. An example I personally like the most is, you probably know the story about Luis Figo. You'll certainly know it if you watched our video on the channel. So in 1995, while playing for his boyhood club Sporting, he had 3 offers on the table, one from Parma, one from Juventus, and one from Barcelona. He immediately put the Barcelona offer to one side and signed contracts with both Parma and Juventus because he wanted to play in Italy at all costs. However, the Italian Football Federation, FIGC, found out about this and prevented him from joining either Italian club. That's when he said, okay, it looks like I should go to Barcelona, and the rest is history, obviously. But yeah, this example visualizes how mighty Serie A was back then. Figo, one of the brightest talents at the time, had to be denied to not go to Italy. And when it comes to hierarchy, however, no one could sit above the big 3. AC Milan. The Rossoneri weren't just a football club in the early 90s, they were a work of art. Arrigo Sacchi's pressing system revolutionized the game, turning the Rossoneri into the Immortals. Then Fabio Capello arrived and somehow made them even better. Although that's open to debate, so feel free to share your thoughts in the comments down below. And if we talk specifically about domestic tournaments, Capello was definitely better, because he won 4 Serie A's, 3 of which in a row, between 1992 and 1994. He also created the Invincibles of 1991-92, when Milan went 58 games unbeaten. 2 seasons later, the 1993-94 season, they won the Scudetto, conceding just 15 goals in 34 matches. That defensive line of Baresi, Costa Curta, Maldini and Tassotti could arguably be put as the best defensive 4 football fans have ever seen in history. Up front, the Dutch trio of Gullit, Van Basten and Rijkaard made the San Siro a theatre of total football. Back-to-back European Cups in 89 and 90, then again in 94. Yeah, when we merge Serie A and 1990s, AC Milan is the club that most people would think of, the symbol of supremacy in Italian football folklore. Juventus, on the other hand, they took a different path. After Michel Platini hung up his boots in the 80s, the old lady entered a brief wilderness. Then Marcello Lippi arrived in 1994 and built a perfectly functioning machine. Tactically, perfect down to every minute detail. Roberto Baggio, pulling the strings in tight places in midfield and attack in the period before Lippi, and after that in the single season he played under him, 1994-95. Then that role was handed over to Alessandro Del Piero, who played there until 1992. By 96, Juve had another magician next to Del Piero, Zinedine Zidane, who dictated the play from midfield like a conductor before an orchestra. 3 consecutive Champions League finals from 1996 to 1998, and a team that truly won the hearts of many. And then there was Inter Milan, the beautiful disaster. They won the Scudetto in 1989, and then for the next 5 to 6 seasons were very silent in all parameters. No big names, no big achievements, no big players signed. The highlight for them in the first half of the 90s was Lothar Matthäus' Ballon d'Or in 1990, which however was won mainly because of his performance for Germany at the triumphant 1990 World Cup. However, after Massimo Moratti took over in 1995, a lot of things changed. He was ready to spend, and he did just that. Firstly, Ronaldo Nazario arrived in 1997 for a world record fee. He was by far the best footballer for the next 2 seasons. He was genuinely unstoppable. The problem with Inter, however, was that they could never quite finish the job. Not a single domestic trophy throughout the 1990s, only the 1990 Supercoppa, which was a result of their Serie A triumph, which doesn't count really. Basically, their biggest achievement was the UEFA Cup in 1991, when they beat Roma in the final. Still, on pure talent alone, Inter belonged in this conversation. They had Ronaldo, Zamorano, Djorkaeff, Cholo Simeone, Javier Zanetti. On paper, they could have stolen something from the mightily Milan and Juventus teams of that period, but it's a fact that the other 2 were a couple of levels above them. But now, here's where Serie A's supremacy became truly surreal. The provincial clubs that had no business competing with Milan, Juventus and Inter, and yet did anyway. Parma is the ultimate fairy tale. a club from a city smaller than Nottingham, assembling a squad full of players who could have been literal starters for prime Milan or Juventus. 2 UEFA Cups in 1995 and 1999, a Cup Winners' Cup in 1993, domestic trophies, including 3 in a decade, in 1992, 1999 and 2002. And what about prime Parma? They don't get talked about as much as they deserve. In the second half of the 90s, Parma fielded 2 players who went on to win the Ballon d'Or, Risto Stoichkov and Fabio Cannavaro. They also had arguably the greatest goalkeeper in history, Gianluigi Buffon, as well as other big names like Lilian Thuram, Juan Sebastian Veron, Hernan Crespo, Gianfranco Zola, Thomas Brolin and Pippo Inzaghi. Indeed, a lot of aura exuded this Parma team of the late 90s. Fans also remember their kits, sponsored by Parmalat dairy products. They beat Milan a couple of times, Juventus a couple of times, showing that they weren't so far away from the level of the big ones. The fact that the project eventually collapsed in scandal and bankruptcy doesn't diminish what they achieved, it actually bears the question of what could have been. Now, part 1 of this video is towards its end, but before we end, these are the 3 answers of the quiz. How many European finals did Italian sides win from that period? Those who wrote 13 in the comment section are absolutely right. Italian clubs won almost half of all the European finals during the whole golden decade. Answer 2. The year in which Italian clubs won all 3 major European trophies in the same season was in 1989-90. AC Milan claimed the European Cup, Sampdoria grabbed the Cup Winners' Cup, and Juve beat Fiorentina in an all-Italian final for the UEFA Cup. And answer 3, upon their 1993-94 Scudetto, Milan conceded as little as 15 goals towards their triumph. Prime Capello ball at its finest. Now, we have another challenge for you. If this video gets at least 250 likes and 15 hypes, we'll start part 2 of this video right away. Yes, you can be sure that there are more secrets to be revealed, so hit the like and hype buttons, and don't forget to check our analysis on the current 3, and why not even 5 horse title race in Serie A. Ciao!